What does the title of the record "Clothed with the Sun" signify? Right, "Clothed with the Sun" signifies a load of different things depending on your mood, depending on what you're thinking at the time. Originally, it was based on a painting by William Blake called "The Great Red Dragon and the Woman Clothed with the Sun," which was just a painting I was a huge fan of. But then I went travelling in Africa, and I guess the significance of being clothed with the sun was much greater and more obvious and really hit home because the African sun is so powerful. And I felt baked by it sometimes, and so that's where the significance really hit home for me. You guys, "Clothed with the Sun"?
Yeah, no, I loved it when it was suggested as a title because, like, also my time in Australia and worshipping the sun, if you can say that.
Yeah.
It clothes you, and it does. Yeah,
totally. Also, having a little baby boy as well, you know, you kind of wrap yourself around this child, and that's kind of what the sun does. So it's an all-consuming passion, and we all also have an all-consuming passion for music. We're huge fans of what we do. We're great friends, and "Clothed with the Sun" really symbolises that as well. Nath?
Oh, no, I'm cool.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
The record sounds like it was recorded in a church, was it? Where did the idea to make your sound cathedral-like come from?
Well, I mean, the great old buildings of England, you know, although they're not churches, has still got that ambience, that history, that you know, the feeling of the oldie worldy, you know, that obviously is an influence.
I've got a great love affair with space, and space in recordings is something I always try to get down. I have a huge passion for reverbs, real reverbs preferably. If not, then we use digital versions. But I love to get depth and space. I'm a huge fan of stereo width, and that's why I really wanted that sound on the album. Nath?
Yeah, I think that I'm the same as Dan in the respect that I love the ambience and the melodic side that comes with reverb and delays and things, and layers that you can just build on. And yeah, it just happened. It just kept getting more and more.
Yeah, I think you can get depth into a mono recording for sure. Who was that guy that did River Deep Mountain High? Phil Spector was an amazing producer who created tremendous depth on mono recordings. In fact, he never crossed over to stereo because he was so passionate about mono. But if you listen to his mono recordings, there's incredible depth and width in the recordings, even in mono stuff. And the reason for that is because he used incredible space, fantastic buildings, and incredible reverbs in his recordings. And that's what I'm going for. And definitely on the next album, we're going to explore that further with real reverbs and real spaces much more. Cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
Who produced the record? The record was produced by Dave Hancock and us, and also additional production was provided by Jay Oborne, who did some of the technical wizardry and some of the sampling and the glitching on Signs. He also engineered the 5 recording days in the studio for us. But Dave really took the project on board when it came to the post-production mixdown. And he had Dave comes from an incredible rock background. He's a massive fan of progressive music, progressive metal and progressive rock like Rush and bands like that. He's really switched on to the British sound as well. He loves drums, he loves guitars, and he understands about mixing as well. Who was responsible for the art direction and album art? Who is the person with the giant tattoo of the sun on their back? Well, the person with the giant sun tattoo on her back is Felicity Copplestone, who gets a credit on the album. And she is a local lass who was an early big fan of what we were doing, and she's she gets out to gigs an awful lot, and she supports Cornish music, and she's fantastic. And she was really keen on the idea of having a tattoo of the sun on her back. I guess the art direction largely came from the album title, Clothed with the Sun, which is so enigmatic. You can do so much with it. But it was actually a guy called Paul College, who was our graphic designer on the album, who came up with the idea of actually having a massive tattoo of the sun on the back, on actually on the skin, because you can't actually get any closer than actually on the skin. So Paul College and Revival Design, he took care of all of that stuff. Okay. There are so many different sounds on this album. Who or what were your biggest influences when recording? Jesus,
we all have different ones, I suppose.
I was listening a lot to Brian Eno, and he just collaborated on Coldplay's Viva La Vida album. I thought the space on that was really cool. I really liked the depth and width of some of the bands coming through, like Block Party and Snow Patrol. They always produce incredibly clear, focused recordings. I love Editors, Maximo Park, just for their energy, not for their recordings, because I don't really like their recordings at all, but their energy is amazing. And I suppose some of, also for me, some of the old progressive stuff, like I'm a big fan of a Cumbrian band called It Bites from the 80s, and really, my brother actually said this, that you can really hear some of It Bites stuff in songs like Separated Lives, where in the solo you've got kind of motifs of 8 notes or 10 notes going across a 4/4 feel, and that was a real It Bites thing, and they were kind of a pop band that had progressive aspirations, and I suppose I was really into that as well. You guys?
Yeah, I just love that we're doing a 3-piece band, and I love the separations and the
Police.
The clarities you can get just for having 3 instruments. And although we're layering stuff, which is cool, you know, there's parts that's nice and simple, and you can hear everything, and it's really good. I like it like that.
Nate?
I think my bass playing on the album was influenced very strongly by bands like Coheed and Cambria, Muse, Editors, more for the sound, I suppose. Geddy Lee from Rush, he's a big influence on the patterns I was playing. But yeah, as far as music, just the general progressive indie feel. Just
I think one thing that we do, which is a bit different than a lot of bands, is that we're not afraid, because we haven't got an A&R executive saying, "Oh, I don't like the way you went into 3/4 in Signs," or "I don't like the way you went into 7/6 and then 6/4, 7/4 and then 6/4 in Battleships." We're in total ownership of our rhythmic creativity, and that is one of our strengths, I think, is that we are not afraid of time signatures, and we feel them out, we flesh them out, and there's a lot of songs on the album where we actually do cross time signatures as a matter of course, almost, without really writing it in.
Without planning it,
we just feel that there has to be a time change, and that's a real sound that comes from that album.
I also think that a lot of, although you can quote the things you're listening to and influenced by, there's things in your head you don't even know that you're influenced by, and you just, it will come out. The naturalness of what you're playing and stuff, and what you're doing is just seeped into you over the years, and it'll come out, and I think it has come out.